中华民国第14任总统候选人辩论会现在开始。请2位候选人就位。现在进行第2阶段提问时间，每位候选人有5分钟回答。主办单位特别从美国邀请到川普总统担任提问嘉宾。现在请川先生提问。
主持人、2位候选人，一直以来台湾流浪猫狗问题都很严重，请问2位有什么政策可以解决？
这个问题我很内行，我在台北市长任内就帮流浪动物找到一个家，就是内湖收容所。虽然里面的狗跟惨，比外面流浪还惨，但毕竟是个家。我解决流浪狗的方法就是杀，一直杀，杀到完为止。台湾安乐死流浪狗的首长，我也是名列前茅。
杀有用吗？流浪狗还是那么多啊。
有志者事竟成，只要坚持，总有一天会杀光的。
马先生怎么那么残忍？那么多狗你还下得了手？我是个猫师，但对流浪动物也很有研究。我想流浪狗能够存活，就是因为有人喂它们。我认为应该全面禁止喂食流浪狗。流浪狗没东西吃就会饿死，很快就没有流浪狗了。
你要活活把狗饿死，你才残忍。
你更残忍，要杀死它们。
饿死比较残忍，
杀死比较残忍。
好了，我们问题问人好了。
请问2位知不知道什么是 TNVR？
当然知道 ，TNVR 是一家电视台，和 TVBS 一样，都是香港 TVB 的子公司。
马先生太无知了，连 TNVR 是什么都不知道。你离年轻人越来越远了，完全不接地气。TNVR 是一种电脑病毒，年轻人都知道，只有马先生不知道。我建议你多多接触年轻人。
蔡女士胡说八道 ，TNVR 就是一家电视台，是 TVBS 的姐妹台。不相信我们问题问人好了。
2位都很幽默。TNVR 就是诱捕、绝育、施打疫苗、放回原地，这是国际公认减少流浪狗最有效的方法。全世界已经有很多国家都用这种方法降低流浪狗数量，例如国际饲主协会，他们在欧洲、意大利、西班牙、东南亚的泰国、缅甸、柬埔寨、越南、印尼峇厘岛等地，跟当地政府合作实施 TNVR。有些地方才刚开始起步，但在泰国和巴厘岛已经取得明显的效果。另外，英国团队在土耳其、罗马尼亚、保加利亚、印度、斯里兰卡也执行多年。保加利亚和土耳其政府更订定法律，确定 TNVR 作为流浪狗减量的基本政策。我想播放一部影片，这部影片很重要，请大家一定要从头看到尾。请主持人播放影片。
This is a picture of an Istanbul street in 1910, Pera district in the center of Istanbul, and as you can see, there were lots of street dogs in 1910. And the Sultan decided that Allah would not be happy if he simply killed these dogs. So what he should do was tell his men to collect as many dogs as they could from the streets of the city and dump them on an island in the Marmara Sea 20 kilometers away. And that island was called in French Oxia. It's got another name, I think Haylas Ada in Turkish. So the Sultan hadn't actually killed the dogs. He didn't have their death on his conscience, he thought. he'd simply sent them there to starve to death. And European visitors to Istanbul at the time complained that for weeks afterwards they could still hear the cries of the starving dogs on this island. So this is Istanbul now, and as you can see there are still dogs in Istanbul, and of course the Sultan's idea was a stupid one, an ignorant one, that he could solve the problem by collecting as many dogs as possible and killing them or letting them starve to death. And now in Istanbul, and indeed in many parts of Turkey, I can't say all parts of Turkey, the problem has been largely solved through neuter and return. So neuter and return is the method of dog population management that is the solution. Now the current Sultan of Turkey, Mr. Recep Tayyip Erdogan, the president, used to be the mayor of Istanbul in the 1990s, and at that time he presided over more failed attempts to solve the dog problem, and their preferred method was strychnine poisoning, and of course that, just like the Sultan's efforts 100 years earlier or 90 years earlier, failed. So neuter and return is the answer. There is a happy ending to the story in Turkey and President Erdogan. In 2005, President Erdogan agreed to a breakfast meeting with NGOs and with his veterinary officials and with various celebrities, actresses, singers, etc. And at this meeting, neuter and return was explained to him, and he amazingly accepted our proposal that neuter and return be included in an animal protection law, a new law passed in 2005, and the results in Turkey are very encouraging. That is why I can now drive from Istanbul to Izmir without seeing a single dead dog, and that is why the problem has been largely solved in the main cities in Turkey. And as you can see, these are now fairly happy, healthy dogs on the streets of Istanbul. Another important point is that there's a lot of evidence, which I won't show you now because it's largely a separate issue, but there's a lot of evidence that children and adults who witness the mistreatment, cruelty to animals become brutalized and then often become violent to human beings as well. So this is another reason why governments should take action on this problem. It has a serious psychological effect on children if they see animals being tortured, kicked, killed, caught by municipal dog catchers, carted off to so-called shelters which are death camps. That is very, very distressing for children, and it has been proved that it has a very serious brutalizing effect on them. And if anybody wants to see that evidence, of course, I can provide it to them. Municipal or government shelters often become death camps. They are expensive. They are simply not a good investment. Private shelters can easily become overcrowded, and the people paying for them often run out of money. So they often become no better than the public shelters, so they become overcrowded, unaffordable, useless, cruel. All the dogs collected from the streets and stuffed into shelters are soon replaced by new dogs, fertile dogs on the streets. They are a waste of money and cruel. Rehoming centres are a different matter, but that is the situation in Western Europe where we have rehoming centres. Shelters are simply not a good idea.
Keep watching.
So in terms of just our companion animal programs, so our programs that focus on cats and dogs, we have a large Eastern Europe program. So we have vet teams in Ukraine, Romania, Bulgaria, and these teams are focused on doing high volume surgery. So they really don't do much else but that. So these are surgical teams that operate almost yearly, except for the months that it's just too cold to put the dogs back. But we work in these areas because probably, I'm assuming as you heard yesterday, there are significant stray animal welfare issues in these countries. And so we really try to focus on doing high volume sterilization for cats and dogs that are living on the streets primarily. So outside of Eastern Europe, we also have a Southeast Asia program. And so this program works with local charities throughout the region. Because the levels of veterinary medicine, the levels of sheltering, the levels of animal care can be quite low in many of these places. And so we work with local charity partners to help support them to build their capacity to run programs that improve the welfare of dogs and cats in Thailand, Cambodia, Vietnam, Indonesia. And another issue, and we see this in Thailand as well, so this is a big issue throughout most of Southeast Asia, in Buddhist communities particularly, is we see the dumping of unwanted animals, particularly at Buddhist pagodas or temples. There is a common misconception that, okay, monks, they go out and they, receive food from community members every day. If I dump my animal at a temple, the monks will take care of it. But typically, the monks might feed the dogs, and there are some that seem to be a bit more compassionate towards the dogs than others, but generally speaking, the dogs receive no medical care, no sterilization. There's a lot of disease and welfare issues. So our program in Phnom Penh focuses specifically on these pagodas to provide education, resources, and free spay-neuter services. But we do, field spay-neuter clinics. So we go to temples, and we're always trying to target at least 70 to 80% of the dog and cat population, if possible. But we have to be able to get the monks on board. Like, the monks have to be understanding and allow us to do spay-neuter surgery. So that can take months sometimes of constant engagement and education. But once we have their commitment to helping improve animal welfare and to working in their community, then we bring a mobile team to go there, set up, and to do surgery for the dogs and cats you can see in these photos. In Vietnam, different place, different issues. Similar, very limited spay-neuter capacity because veterinarians aren't trained in spay-neuter. There is also, again, a lot of dog and cat consumption, eating, and theft of both strays and of pets. So you don't see a lot of stray dogs and cats in Vietnam. And so our program works to provide free spay-neuter services. We train local vets, and we do educational workshops, both at the veterinary school and in the community. In Bali, we have a program, very beautiful, obviously, very beautiful area, but a lot of animal suffering. A lot of rabies cases, which leads to a lot of government culling, a lot of government poisoning of dogs. And so we have a program called Program Dharma, and that really tries to go into communities, working in communities, to vaccinate the dogs, to sterilize the dogs, and to help ensure that they are safe from rabies and safe from getting poisoned by the government. So this is one of our mobile clinics that we do, and we do these twice a month in project communities, and we go in and we offer free spay-neuter services to pet owners, members of the community. And we also partner with the government. So there's a lot of municipal government support for this program, and they will actually send their government vets to these clinics to provide free rabies vaccinations. And so this program has done a lot of education, done many sterilizations, vaccinations. And so just some of the successes is that it has reached 80% vaccination coverage for dogs. And we've actually seen a drastic improvement in dog health. So we look at the numbers of dogs that are thin or emaciated, and we've reduced that to less than 4%. But probably the most important part is that the dogs are more accepted in local communities because they're healthier, they're no longer a risk to give people rabies, and the government has stopped any culling programs in these program areas.
有这么厉害的方法，我怎么不知道？我爸爸都没告诉我。
对啊，老师都没有教，课本里面也没有。